Skilling, everyone's favorite activity, and today I'm gonna talk about how Jagex has been essentially changing that. So first, let's actually take a look at how skills used to function in the game. So skills have always been pretty simple in their nature. You collect a resource, or you turn a resource and transform it into another one, and gain XP for it. That's pretty much all there is to it. As a result, what skilling mostly offered was a support for the game and its activities. Fishing, rewarded you with food, cooking, you cooked that food, and people that wanted to engage with PvM and PvP paid for that food. Mostly outside of gaining XP, skilling served as a consistent form of money making where, while you couldn't hit it big with a big drop, you could always rely on people needing these items to do their activities. With games becoming more action-focused and more sophisticated, players started becoming better at the game and wanting more challenges, which inevitably led to the focus on more action parts of the game, such as PvM or PvP. These activities have higher skill ceilings and were therefore more searched by the players. With that increase in challenge and audience came the rewards. People wanted to be rewarded for their efforts, and eventually people were tired that the rewards were tied to having to be lucky to hit it big, on that really rare drop that would make back your money and even more. Otherwise, you would lose a substantial amount of GP in supplies, because back then we just weren't that good at the game and couldn't make as much consistent GP through the poor drops that the bosses gave. With this in mind, monster and bosses started having more consistent drop tables in terms of money you could make, not just due to players wanting to profit, but also due to the inherent power creep of wanting players to play the new update. So if you want players to play the new update, you just give them more rewards for it. These in turn just fill the bosses' drop tables with skilling supplies, since if you want to make consistent GP, that's where the consistent GP is at, skilling. Obviously, this pretty much devalued most of what skilling has to offer. Skills that used to provide a good amount of GP started offering less and less reward. Not only did players want more PvM content, which most found the most engaging, but also the opportunity for a rare reward while also still making profit due to the consistent loot made it much more desirable than any skill that you could give players. Given the lack of unique activities or rewards, given that skills were pretty simple back then, players started shifting heavily to PvM while leaving skilling behind. All that remained for skilling was really training the skills and watching the numbers go up. However, and as mentioned previously, skilling did not really have all that many engaging activities. To make matters worse, there was another issue plaguing skilling: bots. You see, while bots will always exist and devalue the price of certain items, and in this case skilling items, skills in RuneScape are mostly done by engaging with a skilling node. Skilling nodes that can be depleted and are shared by everyone, which means if you want to do a gathering skill and you have 10 people in the same node, only one will get the item and only one will get the XP, which essentially just also ruins the part of the XP on top of the already heavily devalued prices of the items. So essentially, to recap, there's two massive issues that skilling has. First, the lack of any value within them, be it GP or unique rewards. And secondly, the lack of interesting methods, heavy reliance on skilling competition, which is majorly disliked by people, especially when bots are competing with you. So obviously, I think that this is a good point to also mention this. While I am mostly talking about how skilling has changed over the years, I'm not exactly doing an exhaustive report on it. Most of what I'm talking about is very broad and general. For the most part, I'm not saying that Jagex never really did anything to address skilling or to make skilling more desirable by players. They have. In fact, stuff like, the Lumberjack outfit came out in 2007. pretty early on in the game's lifespan. So take this video and the solutions that Jagex has been doing more as a broad general thing that has taken multiple years to achieve, especially when it comes to a change in mentality, as opposed of a simple okay, we're here now, we're gonna completely just shift paths at this moment, right? This was pretty much a gradual change that happened over the years where Jagex just had to adapt to what the players wanted. This is not supposed to be an exhaustive thing, it's more of a general, broad thing. Let's first talk about the lack of value within skilling, primarily the GP and unique rewards, since those are the biggest fields. The value on the skills is mostly done by offering unique rewards to the players, especially ones that help the player do the skill itself. This follows a base philosophy that Jagex has, which is to reward players doing content with more content, much like quests do. This means that throughout the game you have rewards that are made to help you with your smithing, your woodcutting, your fishing, and so on. To give some examples, the fishing barrel is a barrel that allows you to catch extra fish per inventory, which is earned by doing the skilling boss, Timperos, and getting it as a reward. Skilling outfits provide extra experience, such as the Pyromancer outfit or the Lumberjack outfit, and the ore box, which allows you to carry extra ores while mining. These examples can be found across both games and show the types of unique rewards players can get while doing the skill itself to help do the skill. You can, however, get even more rewards than just skilling related. Smithing in RuneScape 3 provides you with one of the best melee armors in the game, the Masterwork armor. Archaeology offers relics that affect activities around the game, such as other skills. However, they can also affect PVM, such as giving you extra HP or allowing you to do extra damage, and the Tome of Fire, which serves not just as a transportation method given the infinite runes that it provides, but also as a PVM reward since they can be used as a magic offhand for extra fire spell damage. Or you could just get rewards that are cosmetic in nature, given that Fashionscape is a big part of the game and, well, people do love how their characters look. All of these encourages players to take part in the skills, not just to use them, but also incentivizing them into snatching some pretty useful and unique rewards. The other value is in the supplies of the skills themselves and the consistent GP they offer. For the most part, Jagex actually hasn't done much to address this, with some exceptions that I believe will only get more important as the game goes on. Mostly in RuneScape 3, with the mining and smithing rework, they took away all of the supplies related to those skills from PVM drop tables. While obviously it still isn't better GP than PVMing, it does at least guarantee you that you will get something decent out of it and that it's not too devalued by bots. Also, when it comes to farming and herb lore, they had a tweak where they took most herbs and replaced them with seeds in most bosses. Overall, these things will just keep happening in the game, as I believe that while bosses and monsters should offer skilling supplies, they should never be the primary focus or offer you too many to the point where the skilling supplies themselves get heavily devalued, and even in old school we've already seen some tweaks with the Zora nerf drop table, and I believe that they will just be even more common in the future, as these solutions are needed to keep skills relevant by allowing them to actually make some GP. Next up, the skilling methods. There are mainly two things to also talk about here, the methods themselves and the social aspect. A lot of skilling methods were pretty simple. They usually involved gathering a simple resource that was used somewhere else in the game. That was pretty much it as far as skilling methods went. As a result, Jagex started working on bringing skills up to more modern standards, not just the skills themselves, but also some of the activities you can do in them. Firstly, we have the obvious skill reworks, such as mining and smithing in RuneScape 3, and I'm gonna call it a rework, which is forestry. This changed how you interacted with the core of the skill, and have a much bigger focus on positive punishment instead of negative punishment. To quickly explain what that means, negative punishment means that when you are skilling, you get deprived of rewards. So for example, if you aren't paying attention and someone gets your tree, you stop getting resources and XP, and if they keep cutting the tree down before you click on it again, you simply get no rewards. With positive punishment on the other hand, instead of being deprived of the base rewards, you are simply punished by not having extra rewards that usually come in the form of extra mining progress and XP in RuneScape 3, or events that offer extra XP and certain specific resources when with getting in old school. While in one end you get deprived of the basic rewards with negative punishment, in the positive punishment, you still get the base rewards, but you get deprived of the extra ones if you are not paying attention. This overall just provides a more dynamic approach to a skill, since you can choose to either pay attention and get the extra rewards, or not pay attention and completely AFK and you still get the rewards anyway. It's just that in one you get more rewards than the other, and as a result that can inform what way you want to approach the skill, if you just want to AFK it or you actually do want to pay attention. There are also plenty of methods that, while they involve the original way you do the skill, they provide a different approach altogether. Examples for this include skilling bosses such as the Winter Toad, minigames, or various methods where the focus isn't necessarily just on the XP per hour you obtain. The existence of unique rewards allows players to engage differently with the skill and allows Jagex to try different methods. Hallowed Sepulchre is simply a different way of doing agility that some players will choose to engage with despite the focus you need, because you also make Reggie pay from it and you can get a nice graceful recolored, aka fashionscape. This all just makes skills more desirable to train given the choice the players can actually make when approaching them. But there's also another aspect when it comes to these methods, which is the social side and resource competition. For the most part, Jagex has been trying to make skilling more social throughout the years, bringing players together, and thus a lot of the methods that have been recently designed are methods that you can usually do around other players since they don't affect them. Forestry and mining and smithing rework again being a perfect example of this, where instead of just not allowing players to ruin your fun by making the skilling nodes not deplete, they even reward you for coming together. It's rare to see updates nowadays that consist of resource competition, since that is a thing that people don't seem to enjoy and actively goes against making skills overall more social, because they encourage people to split up and get a little corner where no one can crash them, as opposed of coming together and speaking with each other. And even when there is a resource competition method that comes into the game, Jagex usually makes sure to put plenty of nodes around so players don't end up crushing each other either. Overall, Jagex managed to not just avoid punishing players that still want to play solo by not depriving them from the viability of methods, but also rewards those who do come together with pretty much removing the annoyance that is resource competition, making the overall skills far more social than they actually used to be. Obviously, these updates have been very well received and show that there is a massive interest in skilling as a whole, and that Jagex should definitely invest more into it. Old school RuneScape is taking the torch in this regard, since we never seem to be short of new items in skills or methods that give us a unique reward. Jagex has also managed, as a result, to intertwine other skills and allow the fact that you have trained them to make certain others easier. I already touched on some of these rewards, but Graceful is an overall useful reward for just going around the game. Even further, Strength allows you to mine faster, and Firemaking allows you to smith items, and as a result, also making it faster. All of this steering the game and skilling into a more social, dynamic approach, be it for methods or rewards, that players have been showing support for, adding value to the skills beyond just GP per hour, while also making them fun or, well, at least tolerable to engage with. That's what the future holds for skilling, and that's primarily what Jagex has been doing when it comes to changing them.